The disciple John records in John 8:34-36 the words of Jesus. I tell you the truth, everyone who sins is a slave to sin. Now a slave has no permanent place in the family, but the son belongs to it forever. If the Son sets you free, you will be free indeed. St. Augustine proves these words in his book Confessions. Nevertheless, before I talk about how his life proves these verses, I'm going to talk a little bit about him. St. Augustine was born in 354 AD, after Constantine had legalized Christianity. His mother was named Monica and was a Christian, but he does not name his father. He was a Berber born in Hippo, North Africa, which is where he gets his name, Augustine of Hippo. In 380 AD, when Augustine was in his mid-20s, Theodosius made Christianity the official religion of the Roman Empire. One of his major sinful habits, which I'll elaborate on later, was lust. He says he could not stop himself from lusting. The reason he wrote about the things he did was that he wanted to confess his sins to the world, and he hoped that his testimony would help others convert to Christianity. He had a good education, and that is why he wrote so well. He died in 430 AD with a lot of influence over the Anglican Church. In his book, Augustine lets everyone know his sins. For example, he tells a story of him and his friends who stole from a pear tree, not to eat the pears, but to throw them at the pigs, just for the fun of it. However, this was something he only mentioned and felt a lot worse about some of the things he did. One of the sins he was very ashamed of and admits to is that he was addicted to lust. He said he could not stop himself from the immorality. He raised his own child as a result of this sin. These two sins he wrote about, hoping none of his readers would fall into. Later in his book, however, he records his salvation. He had been on the verge of converting to Christianity for a while when he heard a child's voice from another room saying to open the Bible and read. He did that and read one verse that convinced him he should follow Christ. These verses are Romans 13:13-14. Not in riots and drunken parties, not in eroticism and indecencies, not in strife and rivalry, but put on the Lord Jesus Christ and make no provision for the flesh and its lusts. He felt that this verse was meant for him and did exactly what it said. Later that year, he was baptized in Milan with a friend, and his mother was overjoyed. This part of his life was the beginning of the help that he gave to his young religion, and the reason he wrote his book. Augustine also records some of his life as a Christian. One story he tells is about his friend Alypius, who was struggling to fully commit himself to Christ. Augustine talked to Alypius and convinced him to be baptized and follow Christ. Another story he tells of his is his mother's. He had died when he was in his 30s, just before he was about to leave for Milan to be baptized. He tells of her death and how he made himself hold back his tears. Augustine writes excessively about his prayers for his mother's soul, which he then repents for because he came to believe it was a sin. He thought it was a pagan habit to pray for the soul in order that it might reach heaven. He did not like the idea of doing any paganistic things, which is why he repented. All in all, Augustine led a great life and left us with a book to help us in our lives with Christ. These words show that Augustine of Hippo's life proves John 8:34-36.
This year in Omnibus 2, we added a little unit on the Norman conquest of England, and it does help put some of the literature we read into context, and one of which is the Robin Hood legend, which we're just finishing. But Madison's paper is on the Norman conquest itself, and the last paragraph of the paper employs what is called an interrogative narrative, so you might pay special attention to that. Thank you.
The Norman Conquest of England, 1066. The Norman conquest took place in 1066. Edward the Confessor was crowned king and ruled for a short time. Edward died on January 5th, 1066, leaving behind no son and no heir to the throne. This event sparked a series of struggles for the throne. After Edward died, Harold Godwinson, the Earl of Wessex, was crowned king. Harold was a rich and powerful earl and his brother-in-law of Edward. Harold's sister was also the wife of Edward. Because of Harold's relation to Edward, he expected to be crowned king after the death of his brother-in-law. But Harold ran into many problems soon after his coronation. Harold Hardrada was also claiming the throne and was planning an attack on England. He had ruled England before and saw this as a chance to reunite his empire. But soon after he had attacked England, he was defeated at Stamford Bridge and Harold remained king. William of Normandy was also trying to become king, and he threatened to attack England from the south. He claimed that he was the cousin of Edward, and that Edward had promised him the throne. Harold, who was presently king, waiting for the armies to attack. So he marched his army north to meet Harold, whose troops had landed near York. The battle at Stamford Bridge took place on September 26, 1066. It was a very hot day, so the Viking soldiers left their armor on the ships. Even though the English were outnumbered, they defeated the attackers and prevented a Viking conquest. On September 28, 1066, 2 days after the battle at Stamford Bridge, William's army landed in the south of England. But since Harold and his men were in the north of the country fighting, then there was no one there to defend it. William and his men went to Hastings to wait for Harold. But while they were waiting, they burnt down buildings and built a fort there. They stayed for a few days, but once they found out that William and his men had arrived in England, then Harold led his men south to meet them there. They arrived at Hastings on October 14, 1066, and prepared for battle. The Battle of Hastings took place on top of a ridge. For most of the battle, the Saxons were winning. But then the Normans pretended to run away and advanced on all sides. Harold was killed and William became king. His coronation was on December 25, 1066, and he earned the name William the Conqueror. He reigned from 1066 to 1087. The Norman conquest of England really changed the course of history. What if William had not become king? How would things have turned out if he hadn't? What if Edward had had an heir? Could all of the wars and battles been avoided? What about the English language? What if we didn't speak English? What if we spoke French? After reading about the Norman conquest, many things come to mind. Many things could be different right now if everything had not happened the exact way it did.